Hello, welcome. So today we'll be looking at topic is PHP a dying language? Many persons want to know, especially those persons that are just newly getting into coding and have just been introduced to PHP and they're asking themselves, should they be between PHP, Python, which other language, what language should they choose? So we'll be looking at if PHP is a dying language. Many persons have asked this question before. I personally have asked this question, so today we're going to dive into it. First, let's look at in our content. We're going to look at the rise of PHP frameworks, and the growth of PHP, how far it has gone, what the apex point it got to, how PHP got into large organizations, how it's declining, how it's dipping, and the rise of computing language frameworks, how they're competing with PHP frameworks too. We'll be trying to answer the question, will it keep declining? And then we'll try to predict the future of PHP. First thing, let's get into the rise of PHP. PHP is hypertext preprocessor. I know at first it had a different name, but what's really known as is hypertext preprocessor. So PHP was actually created by Rasmus Ledorf in 1993. So that's how far back we've got. But when we started seeing PHP was through the Zen engine, developed by Zurasky and Gutmans. But the Zen engine, till date, is still being used with PHP, and it's like a strong part of PHP. It's core foundation of PHP itself. In 2015, there was a standardization of PHP, and there's a reason behind it, but they became the standard specification for PHP. Also, it became object-oriented in 2004 with PDO. You must have heard of that before. Now, other things that PHP, other real like points where PHP really got it was when it adopted Unicode in PHP 5.4 and 6, but actually later abandoned Unicode. Then we saw PHP 7 where WordPress came in with Zen Engine 3, and there were lots of improvements in PHP. The PHP 8, there was this just-in-time compilation, which made it faster. To date, PHP is really super fast, faster than Python. Surprised about that. So, and that's with Zen Engine 4. Now, there are lots of frameworks that came with during this period. What are frameworks? You know, what frameworks are. Frameworks, they are produced kind of libraries that help you code faster. So there are many PHP frameworks, and these frameworks came one at a time. They just kept popping up. There's a whole long list. Let's check out that long list. We'll be looking at the full history of PHP first before we check out the list of PHP frameworks. So let's take a look at that. See PHP frameworks there. Pre-2000, we just had the PHP library. Then in 2001, we had PHP application tools. See all this 2002, 2003, for our history. But if you see, it came all the way from this point. We saw Yi version 1 in 2008. What about this Yi? Saw Code Igniter coming in 2011. We saw Laravel, Click PHP, all of them, they just popped in 2011. I don't know what they were waiting for. But 2012, we saw Laravel have a better upgrade. Laravel 4, 2013. You see Laravel kept increasing from strength to strength, and then U2 popped up by 2014. Laravel kept upgrading, and so the design framework until 2019, we're seeing Laravel 6, Kick PHP. All of these things have let's say strong aspects to it. But then we have React PHP. This React PHP is like let's say turning point because it follows a different pattern of doing things. More like adding React and PHP together. Okay, so let's return back here. And let's proceed. Now, let's look at all of these frameworks. What are the top-rated frameworks? Which ones are really being used as much in the market? Yeah, see Laravel came to the market. It's more like stole the show. Why? Laravel tends to be simpler to use. And it also have a large community. But I think that the function of having a large community only came as a result of it being easier to handle. So more persons are able to work on it too. So I think it comes from the support, how fast is. Then that's where you now have a large community to be working, to be giving codes and code advice and stuff like that to help newcomers and maybe those who are there, but maybe are in middle, like mid-level, and you just need help. You see people that are way advanced in Laravel to help out. Same with CodeIgniter. Many companies also use CodeIgniter. Many companies also act for Laravel too. Then the Symfony, Zen, they just takes a fraction, the 5.1, and actually does is somehow what reducing, not really increasing, since E2 is the second upgrade after E1. Okay, there are actually little upgrades in the middle. But E2, there's E2 is also upgrade. There's also upgrades in between before we probably get E3. We don't know when. Well, notice that most of these things are actually open source. So okay, so these are all the top rated PHP frameworks that we have. So you could actually pick from them. If you want to pick, you can easily see what to pick by just looking at the chart. Then let's look at the scale. All right, you see them from bottom. You see them from bottom to the top. Something similar to what we have already worked on. Okay, you can also see from 2005. You can see when Symfony came in, 2006, 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013, where we have the fat-free. So most of them are actually newcomers in the past 15 years they've been around. So they aren't newcomers to. So let's look at the apex points where the PHP got that signature. What's that point where PHP got to got renowned? One aspect is that at 2013 we had PHP being used in so many sites. But where are those? What platform were those PHP sites? You see, PHP is actually used for backend. It's very easy to work with MySQL, MySQL rather. It's also it works with almost all SQL database systems. So it's easy for you to work with PHP on it, and most persons just decide to use it. But it does have a catch though, and but most websites were using PHP as at that time. But something happened. I started reducing, right? But we'll get back to that. So one other aspect was WordPress. WordPress was like the largest. It was like a boom, WordPress boom. Everybody wanted to have a WordPress site, but it was easy for not really for people out there to produce sites, but yes, non-coders to produce sites. But also, most persons can easily make a serious site that you could use for most applications that you could use for forms and many other simple stuff that most businesses would like. So 2021, PHP was used as server-side programming language on 79.1% of websites. So it's still being used. Below 79.1% is a really large number. But it's like it going down because it was actually 83.5% from previous from 2015. So that's a large drop, and it's PHP 7 is actually the most used version of the language. Well, we're saying PHP 8, but yet people are still reducing their use of PHP. But what's the reason people are dropping PHP this way? We'll talk about it. But before we talk about it, let's see what happened that also gave a push to PHP. You see, many organizations, they're using PHP. For instance, Facebook, Wikipedia, Tumblr, Slack, MailChimp, Etsy, and WordPress. We have talked about WordPress. Well, you see, Facebook was not, would we say, always using PHP for everything, because most websites don't really use, most organizations will not use just one program software. But Facebook was really backing PHP, and they were really pushing for, these large organizations are the reason why most programming language actually move forward, because they pump money into it and develop the language. And the more they develop the language, the more they could have better programs. We have to produce better programs by developing the language, so they have the two-way thing. But as I'm also doing that, it's also helping everybody out there. So thanks, Facebook. But what happened? So the first thing is that currently PHP is being replaced by Python. Not just in use, but in entry points. Most persons, when they ask them what would you like to learn first, PHP, Python, most persons want to go for PHP. Most persons before would like to go for PHP because they see the use of it, website development. But now we're having more than web development, and Python is pushing its leg into web development too. But if you look at the scale between Python and PHP, we could see that PHP does have more advantage. Just imagine something that was built for the web and something that's in multi-purpose. Definitely, PHP will have more advantage. So PHP is not really declining because of Python. We just have more coders that want to use Python. That doesn't mean that PHP is actually declining. Okay, yeah, but it did decline in a sense. If you check out the TIOB index, index for September, it may look like I'm contradicting myself, but not really. We are looking at different aspects to this thing, because when it comes to web development, Python, yes, people are using Python, but that doesn't mean people have stopped using PHP. That's what I mean. But when it comes to programming entry points, many persons are using PHP, are using Python as opposed to PHP. So that's the idea. Now, PHP did decline. Okay, it's declining, or you won't really tell why it's declining because it's multiple indexes, right? But TIOB index is use several things in order to see the decline of PHP. But remember, they're also limited in what they can actually get. Okay, so PHP dropped 2 spots down the list from number 7 to number 9. What does that tell you? That does not mean that PHP was not like the most used language at any point in time. But we say that it's the most used language in web development. And so today it's still the most used language in web development. So you can check that out. So back to for yeah. PHP was the programming language of the year. So, but it's sitting at 9 now. That's a problem. Okay, so let's look at the one most let's say some of the reasons why it declined. Some of the decline that happened. 2009 everything was fine, but soon after that 2009 PHP started going down. In 2014, it halved again to 2.5%, from 10% to 5%, and now it has gotten down to 2.5% of the entire market share. That's the entire programming market share. What's the reason for this? It's because of security holes in PHP. You see, PHP is like that. Easy programming language. So most hackers can easily get into, can easily poke holes into your website, and that's not really good for the language. Most persons are Facebook especially. Yeah, that's a sad love story. Facebook decided to dump PHP and decided to use Hack instead. They developed Hack as like a substitute for PHP. That's quite sad. Quite sad. So after that big dump, right, more persons started focusing. You start hearing things like JavaScript, TypeScript, Python. People started talking about it. Not like JavaScript hasn't been there, but you start hearing more things about it. jQuery, stuff like that, Angular, and stuff like all those frameworks started coming up just to see how they could do the same thing that PHP could do. So if you look at this chart explains it better. Frameworks, which of them is now having total market share. Like we're looking at total market share for all languages now, frameworks, to all language frameworks. So if you see Microsoft ASP.NET up there, so like Microsoft usually use C# and what they call it, which is Xamarin and stuff like that. Microsoft is like a big backer of C# and C++. So that's still up there. Then there's Next.js, JavaScript, and there's Express, there's Laravel there, which is PHP actually, it's on number 4. So yeah, PHP is doing fine. So, and if you add that up to CodeIgniter, which is number 7, and you add that up to E there down there, trust me, you have something good. But that doesn't mean PHP is everything, right? We still have Microsoft leading the way over there. Okay, so let's see. This also explains this another chart that also explains something similar. You see Laravel down there, 9.45. You see he is not even here, he's way below. So Laravel is just trying 9.45. So if you look at the full market, the entire market share, PHP is 8. So would it keep dipping? Probably not. Probably yes. It may keep dipping, but that depends on the breakthrough. Right? And you can actually help. So because PHP is there's a fundamental issue in PHP, and one is a security issue, and so people need to find various ways to get security into PHP. But it's too late. That's what the frameworks are for. Well, it's most persons have already moved on, and they're seeing other places as easy. So why go back to PHP and stuff like that? But that doesn't mean PHP doesn't have its own perks. It has some good aspects to it. So let's look at predictions of the future, because we have to look at the past to understand the future, the past, the present, to understand what the future is. So let's look at this. Let's look at this. Statistics from let's look at this. This will help us understand what's going on. Okay, so let's scroll down and then let's use this chart and see what's going on between this marking on and backward, going back. So let's go by through this. All right. Let's see what's happening as 2012. That's 2012. Let me slide this up so everyone can see. I think I should close this. So everyone can see what's going on here. Okay, so some scrolling. Notice what's happening. From over here we have .NET Core. You can see where we have CodeIgniter there. You see PHP. Let's watch out for our PHP, right? Let's see what's happening to them. Then we have Send Framework, which is PHP. CodeIgniter, we have PHP. Where is our Laravel? It's not even on the show yet. So let's go and let's see what happens. So Ruby on Rails was kind of popular then. I remember 2012 when I was hearing about Ruby on Rails. But let's see how PHP frameworks. performing. You can see the .NET Core going slipping down. Django is up. See Laravel. Yeah, Laravel just came into the scene. You see Laravel popping into the scene from 2012. So see Laravel coming up. It's coming up. The framework also rears its head. Oh no, something takes over the Vue framework. Notice Laravel move up one more space, and you see the Zen framework declining. That's one thing. Zen framework decline. Now we're seeing PHP coming up, and we're seeing Laravel take further and move forward. Just like that, Laravel keeps going from strength to strength, and then over time we see coming up, you doing fine. He moves to just keeps moving upward, but it's also nice. So he is kind of like switching, and but Laravel kept going from strength to strength to the point Laravel became the #1 framework at 2019. And that was the strength before it started to, it's still there. So Laravel is still the most used backend, and that's PHP. So what do you think? PHP still have its strength with the backend web development, and that means a whole lot. So for backend developers, you sticking to PHP is a great thing for you. But if you're talking about general web development, of course, you're not looking at PHP, probably go somewhere else, but maybe if they're talking about app development, web app development, it's not really PHP, but it's more of other programming this thing that we saw earlier. But when looking at popular backend frameworks, Laravel is the go-to. So let's proceed. So from what we've gathered so far, if you predict the future is that unpredictable. You can't really tell. It all depends on who's going into what organization decides to use it, what organizations are deciding to use it, what is special about it. The more people pump into a particular framework, the more it dominates. The more sometimes it could be something else. It could be that something is changing. Okay, maybe that something is changing the entire market scenario. Like just to look at Python, for instance. Currently, Python does have a disadvantage over PHP. Okay, for instance, let's look at its maintenance. Yes, Python is kind of like easy to maintain. PHP is not easy to maintain. But when it comes to things like speed, for instance, PHP is faster, right? If you want to debug in Python, yes, Python is faster. It's easier to see your problems. Debugging in PHP code, trust me, it's quite difficult. Then when it comes to database, Python isn't it. And that you see the reason why PHP is still as strong, especially in the backend. So stands to be corrected, but I don't know. It just depends on what happens to Python in future. Probably there'll be a way to integrate Python to the database. If it becomes easier with the close to human speech of Python, I think it may dominate the market in future, but we don't know yet. So it depends. PHP frameworks are doing a lot to making it easier to code. So why go use Python if you're already with this? But if Python gets easier, trust me, it will start growing its community too. And definitely, maybe web development may just be in Python. So maybe we are going to it may make sense because you will not be trying to, if you are going into web development and probably persons that are working AI, they may also understand what you're doing and stuff like that, rather than just having several attachments in order to get simple code. So what's this general summary? PHP is in decline, agreed, but it doesn't really matter because on the back end, PHP is still as strong as a rock. So to remain a key web language for a long time to come. So there are many reasons for this. The first one is a huge user community. There's a vast ecosystem of it. We're having lots of legacy code base frameworks, and there's an enormous amount of documentation, learning resources on PHP. You could you could actually make a website without even knowing PHP. All you need to know is how the code is working, right? So um, the language you can work on even on the back end because you have several code snippets out there that you could just copy, edit, and plug to your website. So PHP already has lots of these things, but it's been fun really learning PHP because it's not going to go down anytime soon. Maybe next 10 years, 15 years. But yes, you saw the indices. It doesn't really, it dropped and then it increased. So the more people keep working on PHP, the better it is. Okay, and people keep using PHP, especially as it has improved. So let's look at this framework. I'd like you to rate what a language, rate any language, and try seeing how to rate the language. How do you rate the language? Do you rate the language by just looking at what people are doing over there? You have to pick the parts that you want to work on. If it's the back end, it's in the front end, what is best on those parts? And then you have to share. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Absolutely.